Hi, and welcome to today's class, Essentials for Burnout Recovery. I'm Dr. Emily Wilson, and I created this 15-minute class for you because I want to give you the essential information you need to understand what's been going on for you and how to change it fast. I know your time is precious, and so I've taken only the most essential information you need and put it into this 15-minute class. Let's dive in. Okay, we're going to start at the beginning, the real root of burnout. Now, it may come as no surprise to you that the real root of burnout is living with chronic stress and overwhelm. This happens a lot to women, more and more I'm seeing, because as women, we tend to be relational creatures, and we tend to have a lot of things we care about. Many of us are multi-passionate. We are purpose-driven. There's a lot we want to do in our world. We also have relationships that are important, relationships with family, with friends, partners. We may have pets or kids that need extra attention. We may be caring for an ill family member. And on top of all of that, many of us also have full-time careers and projects that we're extremely passionate about, things that we want to do to change the world and move the needle forward. Now, this is all amazing, but what can happen is if we are constantly living by trying to meet all of these external demands, that stress can put pressure on our body's systems, and over time, that stress pushes us into an imbalanced state. This imbalance has a lot of symptoms. Big picture here, burnout left unchecked causes something called adrenal fatigue, and we're going to dive into what that means. Adrenal fatigue is the functional medicine condition that develops when we live in chronic stress and burnout for too long. Now, I want you to take a look at the two boxes here. The one on the left is the traditional allopathic model of health. And if you are like 99.9% of my patients and you've already seen your doctor, this may be what has happened to you too. Maybe you've gone in to see your doctor, told your doctor how you're feeling, and they run a few quick blood tests. They say, hey, everything's normal. You're fine. You're healthy. And they send you on your way. So you get no real answers, but also you're left feeling alone and misunderstood. And like maybe there's something wrong with you. I want to tell you there's nothing wrong with you. It's that when we practice within this allopathic model of health, it's just a black and white system where you're either quote unquote healthy or you quote unquote have a disease. And the way doctors determine that is usually with blood work and testing. And so if you don't fit this model of disease, they say, okay, you're healthy. So there's no space in that system to understand why a person might not be feeling well, yet not have a diagnosable disease. Now, if we look at the model on the right-hand side, this is the functional medicine model of health, and this is where I practice. So while yes, we still have the conditions of health and disease, they're very different. When a person is healthy, she knows it. She's vibrant. She's full of energy. She loves her life. She's happy. When, in contrast, there's a disease process, people also know that too. They don't feel well. And of course, there are objective things that are off in labs and in other testing. But you see this gray-green circle in the middle. That's called the functional imbalance. More and more women are finding themselves in this space. And a functional imbalance is what happens when we live in a state of chronic stress and burnout for so long that that pressure has put stress on our body systems and caused a functional imbalance, caused an actual imbalance in the way that our body is functioning. Now, we have to do deeper lab work. We have to dig deeper than a basic blood test to understand what's really going on. So I use functional lab testing to really understand where the imbalances lie. Okay, big picture here. When we have more stress, we spend more time in our fight or flight system. When we are spending more time in stress or fight or flight, we have less time to spend on restoration or our body's rest and digest systems. So the pressure from stress means our body is not able to recover as quickly or as well. When we're living in chronic stress, we see a lot of symptoms go up. We start to have gut issues and our body can't digest our food. We have sleep issues. We have mood issues because now our brain can't maintain an optimal level of brain chemistry to help our mood stabilize and normalize. We see overwhelm where we have a hard time focusing on anything. Our body becomes more toxic. We have hormone imbalance. We also see metabolic disruption. And if you're like so many of my patients who have started to notice they've gained weight that they just can't lose despite making various dietary changes, then that's a sign of metabolic disruption. Now, as far as the bad skin piece goes, a lot of my patients will either develop acne or they'll start to notice that their skin is aging really rapidly. That can look like wrinkling skin, creping skin. They also oftentimes will see hair loss, and all of these things are super distressing. Now, as stress goes up, restoration goes down. So we see a lack of nourishment. We see a lack of sleep. We see a lack of feeling happy or joyful in our lives. We can't concentrate. We lose, our body and our mind are no longer clear and clean. We can see period problems. We can see fertility issues. And of course, healthy weight management is out the window. We also, again, see a lack of youthfulness and vitality. So as stress goes up, restoration goes down. So how does your body change in burnout-induced adrenal fatigue? And I want you to know here that this is not just a stepwise or linear process. It's not like one day you're fine and the next day you wake up and you suddenly have adrenal fatigue. This happens gradually over time. And what I've done is I've broken down adrenal fatigue into 3 levels to help you understand, a little bit more about the process and the way that women progress through adrenal fatigue. Bird's eye view, 30,000 feet. Adrenal fatigue happens in 3 levels. Now, if you want to dive deeper into any one of these levels or understand more about your quiz results, check your email. I sent you a PDF that dives deeper into each one of these 3 levels. But for now, again, we're going to give you a bird's eye view. Level 1, chronic super stress. Everything in level 1 is amped up. And so we start to see things go up. We see a rise in stress, a rise in anxiety, a rise in irritability. We also see a rise in blood pressure and blood sugar. We can see a rise in our cortisol lab levels, which again is why we need to run some functional medicine testing. Another thing we see go up, we see cravings for wine and sugar go up. That's because we're trying to find ways to relax and to self-soothe. And also because high blood sugar also drives these cravings. And that becomes its own vicious cycle. Level 2, wired but tired. And I always think with level 2, I think of if you've ever seen 2 kids on a seesaw, 2 rambunctious little boys, and the kid who's down at the ground, imagine him pushing his feet up really hard, really fast. So the other kid flies down to the ground and he flies up in the air. That is how I see level 2 adrenal fatigue, because we see things start to flip-flop really quickly. A woman in level 2 adrenal fatigue is still amped up, but the moment she stops, even just for a second, she crashes. And this can look like if you're somebody who's chronically stressed, you're running through your day, but come 2 or 3 p.m., you put your head down on your desk for a second, like this woman, and all of a sudden you can't lift it up again. You're so tired. That's level 2 adrenal fatigue. A woman in level 2 can also be exhausted all day, but then come nighttime, she's wired. She puts her head on the pillow and all of a sudden her thoughts are keeping her up. Her body feels restless. She's thinking about all the things she has to do in her day, all of the to-dos, all of the worries and the stresses. We can also see period symptoms set in or they worsen. And we can also see the periods start to become irregular. And again, that's that flip-flopping that we see. We still see cravings for wine and sugar. We also start to see more cravings for caffeine and often just for simple carbs and salt too, because again, she's looking for anything she can to help her feel better and have even a quick burst of energy. By the time we get to level 3 adrenal fatigue, level 3 is can't function anymore. Everything has just dove down. Exhaustion sets in full time and things crash. She has no energy. Her energy's crashed, blood pressure's crashed, blood sugar can crash without warning too. And this can leave her feeling hangry. It can also leave her feeling lightheaded or dizzy or like she might faint. Infertility is another extreme example of something that can happen in level 3 adrenal fatigue. And the problem here is that nothing is restorative. So she can sleep for 12 hours a day if she wants to, and she'll still wake up exhausted. Okay, so how do I know what level of adrenal fatigue I have? Now, if you've taken the quiz, you know that a big piece of this is your personal health and your personal health history. The other important piece here is running functional medicine labs. We need to run functional medicine labs because these are critical to assess the root physiological imbalances that really have to be addressed if we're going to help you reverse adrenal fatigue. Okay, let's get to the good stuff. So how do we reverse burnout-induced adrenal fatigue? I have learned personally and professionally over years that burnout recovery must address every single part of you. It has to address overwhelm in body, mind, and spirit, and that's how we truly get to the root cause. The Reclaim You method of burnout recovery is something that I have developed over years, again, personally and professionally, to help women recover in their personal and their professional lives. Again, we've got to address the overwhelm in body, mind, and spirit. Here's how we do that. In body, we use functional medicine testing and protocols to restore your body's balance. In the mind, we work with self-worth. That looks like knowing your value and making yourself more important than everything else on your plate, not in a selfish or self-centered way, but in a way that's required for you to truly heal. And in spirit, what we want to do is we want to reconnect you with your sense of purpose. Why are you here? Why are you here on this planet? Because when we focus on what's most important to us in a very deep and personal and spiritual level, everything else falls into place. So if I were to tell my patients to do only one thing to recover from burnout, this is what I would tell them. Diet. Now, it may sound simple, but I really want you to think about this in a different way. The big picture here is eating high vibration foods. Now, think about it. Burnout happens because our brain is telling our body all the time that we have so much we need to do. We have so many demands we need to meet. And so the brain is sending signals to our adrenal glands, which are our energy regulators. And the brain's saying to the adrenals, hey, we need more energy. We need more energy. And that starts to cause an energy deficit. When we eat high energy or high vibration foods, those do more to nourish our adrenal glands than anything else. So what is a high vibration food? The highest vibration foods that we have access to are plants. You want to think of fresh, beautiful, vibrant, colorful foods. So high vibration foods, the highest are going to be veggies and fruits. Then we also want to think about eating nuts and seeds, clean oils, maybe healthy grains, clean meats. If you choose to eat animal products, you want to make sure that they're clean. They come from reputable sources. So again, the number one thing that you can do to heal your adrenal glands is eating high vibration, high energy foods. Avoiding low vibration foods. This is kind of the opposite end. And low vibration foods are things like processed foods, packaged foods. But if there was one thing I would tell my patients to avoid across the board, it would be sugar. Now, sugar is present in too many foods in our current food supply. And a lot of it is because companies want you to eat more of their products. And so they put this addictive substance, sugar, in it. Now, if you avoid sugar, you do your body a world of good. My caveat here is that this does not include the sugar found in fruits, whole fruits. But if you avoid sugar, you are avoiding a major metabolic toxin. You are avoiding huge stress on your immune system. You are avoiding the issues that sugar causes for your brain and your gut and your hormones and everything else. So we want to eat high vibration, high energy foods. We want to avoid low vibration foods, especially sugar. The third piece, drink clean water. And by this, I mean clean filtered water. when working on our adrenal glands, we can never neglect hydration status. When we are hydrated, our metabolism works optimally. We can detoxify appropriately. Our gut functions better. Our brain functions better. Everything shifts. Making sure that we're well hydrated is a huge adrenal support. So again, if I were to tell my patients to do one thing, it would be eating high vibration foods and monitoring their hydration status, and of course, avoiding the sugar. I want to take a moment and thank you so much for joining me for this quick class. I know it's a lot of information. I have sent you in an email the accompanying PDF, which kind of goes through a lot of this information. And breaks down some additional information, including more on the 3 levels of adrenal fatigue, as well as the exact functional medicine testing I order for my patients to understand some of those root physiological imbalances. And if that email is not in your primary folder, I'll ask you to go ahead and move it to your primary folder so you don't miss any of the other important information I'm going to be sending out to you. I want to thank you again for joining me today. And I want to let you know that hearing from you brightens my day so much. So if any of this has resonated with you and you feel called to reach out to share a little bit about what you've been going through, please feel free to just respond to the email I sent you. I read every single email you send me, and I want you to know that it really just makes my day to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take care of yourself, and I hope you do something really special for yourself today.